It's working. Think so. So welcome everybody to today's class. Today we're doing adverb position. Okay, adverb position. Where do you put the adverb? Now I want to make it clear right from the start that the mistakes are with these words. Okay, especially also, I've noticed it is very common that you see mistakes with also, where the student has put also in the wrong position, usually after the main verb, which is wrong. It's got to be before the main verb. So we'll discuss that in a moment, but first I want to talk about some other adverbs and where we usually place those other adverbs. So I've already spoken about these in another lesson, but I'm making new classes now which are exclusively for my website. So please, if you haven't seen any of the lessons on adverb collocations, there were 4 lessons on adverb collocations or gradable and ungradable adjectives, then all you need to do is go to skype-lessons.com and you will find all my lessons and exercises. Completely free. You just click on them and it's on a Google Doc and you'll be able to check your answers as well. So you can test your understanding of these lessons that I'm doing. So please do go to the website if you've been missing these classes. I'm making them every day now. The only reason they don't appear on YouTube is because, in my opinion, YouTube is an awful, disgusting organisation. So good morning, Andres, and good morning, Rabia. I will be doing lots of lessons on tenses very, very soon, and yet they will all be going on my website, and yeah, I will make exercises for them. So yeah, I will do lots of lessons on tenses very soon. I want to make those classes for some of my younger students who have to learn tenses, of course. So hello Symbol and hello Kitachi. When you've got an adverb collocation, and if you don't know what they are, have a look at the last 4 classes that I've done on adverb collocations. When you've got an adverb collocation, when the adverb collocates with an adjective or with a verb, keep them together. Don't separate them. Don't put them at opposite ends of the clause or sentence. Keep them together, yeah? So potentially dangerous, keep them together. Seriously injured, keep them together. Flatly refuse, keep them together. Sorely missed, keep them together. Okay, so good morning Jimmy from the Philippines, very good to see you here. And good morning Otto, good morning Otto, one of my old students, great to see you. So here we've got these adverb collocations, they've got to stay together. You should know what I'm talking about, just watch any of the last few classes if you want to know more about the adverb collocations. But adverbs of manner, yeah, how something is done. Think adverbs that describe how something is done. They usually go after the subject and the verb, sometimes right at the end of the clause, but the important thing is that they go after the subject and the verb. Sorry, I mean the subject and the verb, and maybe the object if the verb has an object as well. Yeah, if the verb has an object as well, don't put it between the verb and the object. Put it after the object, yeah? So make sure it goes at the end of the clause, basically. So have a look at these two. He speaks German clearly. Notice that clearly is describing how he speaks German. And so we put it at the end of the sentence. Now compare this sentence to another sentence where clearly is acting, is functioning in a different way. Compare he speaks German clearly to clearly, comma, he speaks German. And that's a very different type of clearly. This clearly doesn't refer to the fact that he speaks German in a clear manner. It doesn't refer to that at all. Good morning, Yanis. This clearly is a comment adverb from the narrator. The narrator is making a comment and he's saying, it is clear to me that that guy speaks German. That's really different from that guy speaks German in a clear way. That guy speaks German clearly. So be aware that changing the position of the adverb can change the meaning of the adverb. It's quite rare, but it can. So yeah, he speaks German clearly, it's a different meaning than clearly he speaks German. So adverbs of manner must go after the subject of the verb. She played tennis enthusiastically. He speaks English well. He speaks Japanese badly. All of those would be comment adverbs. I hope you can hear me okay. Is that okay? So hi to SIS in Kazakhstan as well. I think I missed that one. Okay, so comment adverbs. Sentence adverbs is another way of referring to these adverbs. And these are things like fortunately, unfortunately, but also words like, luckily, unluckily. But a lot of these sentence adverbs are words like however, nevertheless, moreover, furthermore, besides, firstly, secondly, thirdly, those kind of adverbs. Well, these ones can go at the start or the end, but they can also interrupt. Yeah, you can put these ones anywhere you like. But you will need commas. Now have a look at this. However, comma, I think you are totally mistaken. I think you are totally mistaken, however. I think, however, you are totally mistaken. Now, whether you use commas with a comment adverb depends on how strong you perceive the break to be. And so there's no hard and fast rule for punctuation with these comment adverbs, but usually they are seen with commas. But I think you'll agree that there seems to be less of a break when we put it at the end, yeah? I think you are totally mistaken, however. And so I might leave it out if I put it at the end there. But I would put the two commas in there. I think, however, you are totally mistaken, and I'd put the comma in there. So understand that there are nuances here with punctuation where it really does come down to you. What do you think? So good morning, Sweetness from Georgia. So let's keep going. Comment adverbs you can see are very flexible. Yeah, these are nevertheless, moreover, furthermore. Okay, adverbs of time and place, beginning or end. Nice and easy, these ones. Yesterday, today, last night, that kind of thing. It can go at the front or at the end. And adverbs of place, like here or there, they're usually at the end. However, if they're at the start, you'll often see inversion. Yeah, here comes the big bad wolf, yeah, or something like that, or there stood an old man. And so you will see inversion very often if you see those adverbs of place at the front of the sentence. That's something to be aware of, because if you put them at the end, for example, we are going to stay there for our holiday, then yeah, it just goes at the end and it's quite simple. Okay, so now the mid position, which is this is certainly where all the problems arise. This is where people make mistakes. So with these words, they go in the middle position. And what we mean by the middle position is after to be. I am always late, yeah? And not I always am late, no. I am always late. So always goes after am, so after the verb to be. Before the main verb, and this is really important with also, yeah, it must go before the main verb, not after. So he speaks German and not speaks also Russian, but also speaks. Yeah, it's got to go before the main verb. And lastly, obviously many of you know that in English we often have a whole row of verbs, yeah, of auxiliary verbs, modal verbs, main verbs. For example, must have been sleeping. That's a verb, but it's 4 verbs in a row, yeah? Modal verb must, auxiliary verb have, been, auxiliary, sleeping, main verb. So what do you do when you've got 4 verbs? Where do you put it? Well, my advice is always put it between the first 2 verbs in any chain, and that way you'll always be correct. Be careful putting it in other positions. I do appreciate that there are some adverbs like even and only that you will change the position and you'll change the meaning. And perhaps one day I'll do a class just on those kind of adverbs. But most of the time, if you put the adverb between the first 2 verbs in any verb chain, you're going to get it right. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do. But there is one exception. Obviously, there's always at least one exception. There are probably 6 or 7 other exceptions that I don't know about. But there is this exception with probably. Probably, even though it's in this list, goes before negative auxiliaries and modals. So we say, I will probably come to the party. or I probably won't come to the party. Make will negative, and suddenly the probably has to go before it and not after it. Okay, so that's important with probably. That's an exception with probably. So let's have a look at this grammar in use. Yeah, let's have a look at some sentences using this grammar. Good morning, Amit in India. So they have definitely been married for at least 3 years. Definitely goes after the first auxiliary verb, but before the second auxiliary verb. And that's where we want it, between the first two verbs. Next one, I can barely make out what he's saying. Yeah, this make out means understanding. You often use it with things you're squinting at or when you're trying really hard to hear somebody. And barely goes between the first modal verb and the second main verb. They would probably have died if they had all abandoned the ship. So probably goes, it's not this isn't a negative modal, so it goes between the first two verbs. One is would is a modal verb, two, have is an auxiliary verb. Hi to Amit again. So probably goes between these two verbs, but in the second clause, in the subordinate clause, if they had all abandoned, notice that all and both, they're not adverbs. I know they're pronouns. They often get called adverbs, and I suppose maybe there are some sentences where I would agree, but they're pronouns. And these two pronouns, they also go in the same position as all these adverbs. Okay, so be aware that all and both also need to be in this position. So had all abandoned, yeah, between the first two verbs. After the auxiliary, but before the main verb. Okay, we probably won't know until tonight. Notice that probably now goes before the modal, and it's because we've got a negative modal. This is this exception I'm trying to show you. If we change it to will, it becomes we will probably know later tonight. Yeah, something like that. We will probably know later tonight, but we probably won't know until tonight. Yeah, you can see the difference. Okay, and the last one, you should never believe digital media. It's certainly true. But look at this, we've got a modal verb, one, we've got a main verb, two, never trust, never believe digital media. You've got to have the adverb between those two verbs, okay, between the first verb and the second verb. So I hope that's made the position of adverbs a lot clearer. The main mistakes are with these ones, especially that word there, but other ones as well, probably as well, quite often is put in the wrong position. Probably because it's a bit of a pain and it's an exception. But be aware that this is where we put these words and it will help you. Certainly focus on getting these adverbs in the right position in your writing, and it will help you put them in the right position when you're speaking as well. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching. Please go to my website if you want to still follow me on a daily basis with new lessons and new exercises. I will continue to make exercises for all the students that I teach, and that does mean making lessons on tenses, on adverbs, because all my students have different needs and different desires, and I want to help them with English, of course. I make these classes specifically for those people, and so I have at least 2 or 3 students studying adverbs at the moment, so this will be useful for them. But if you have any suggestions on topics that I could do, I am all ears. I'm always willing to listen. But normally I find people say, oh, can you do a lesson on this? And I think, I've done 30 lessons on that. And so do have a look first. You might find that I've already got a lesson on that theme on YouTube, for example. I've got loads of classes on YouTube. But remember, anything new, come to skype-lessons.com. And please, if you want to buy my books, you can buy the books on skype-lessons.com. You can buy my grammar book, which is really aimed at natives, although it will work with any advanced TEFL student as well. And I think it will improve your English in the sense of making it a lot more beautiful, because that's what this book is about, rhetorical devices and how to improve your use of English. This is really a vocabulary book. Now, I tell all foreign students that if you aren't using phrasal verbs, you won't sound natural, you won't sound fluent, because all English people use phrasal verbs all the time. Just read any newspaper and you'll see that it is packed with phrasal verbs. So if you want to get good at phrasal verbs, please try this book. It's a nice thick book, lots and lots of pages and lots of pictures as well. If you buy it in colour, it's more expensive. Sorry guys, the thieves at Amazon won't let me get the price down. But in black and white, you can get it for a reasonable £20. And so both of those are available as paperback or as PDFs. So good morning, Safir, and good morning, Attila. You already can find a lot of my classes on passive gerunds. Yeah, I have already made a class on gerunds and participles, including passive forms. But I'm sure I will make another one day. And so perhaps I'll make another one, sooner or later. But I like gerunds and participles. They're tricky, but I do enjoy teaching them. So I'm sure I'll have another class on that topic soon. Okay, if you've got no other questions, guys, then I will go and make a coffee and wake up a little bit better. But I will be putting new exercises on my website later, so please go to that website if you're interested in following me on a regular basis. And I guarantee that I will certainly make those classes for you very regularly. It's just that I will be deleting each and every one from YouTube at the end of the day. That's my new style. That's the new approach I'm taking to teaching. And all that means is that you have to go to my domain online, because I don't want you going to these other places which I think are disgusting places. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching. Hope to see you all soon.